Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. City Council business meeting. Pursuant to the Governor's executive order suspending all statutes that require a quorum to be present in person at local government public meetings or require a local government body to meet at a specific public place, the city may conduct meetings of its city council without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Florida statutes. As mayor, pursuant to the authority granted to me by the city charter, I declared a public emergency on March 15, 2020 in response to COVID-19. Furthermore, pursuant to the powers and the governor's executive order, I suspended all city requirements that require a physical quorum to be present to conduct this meeting and authorize that this meeting be conducted by communications media technology under the city's state of emergency proclamation for virtual meetings executed on April 3rd, 2020. City manager, pursuant to the authority granted him by the city's initial state of emergency for COVID-19, has closed City Hall to the public. Therefore, no member of the public will be allowed into the community wing of City Hall during this meeting. Notice that this meeting was going to be held by communication media technology and not at a physical location was posted on the city's website at least 5 days ago. The notice provided that those members of the public needed reasonable accommodation to participate in the meeting could contact the city clerk for assistance by noon on Monday, August 31st, 2020. Access to this meeting is being provided via live stream on the city's website at www.palmcoastgov.com and by calling in at 386-223-1690. Should you need technical assistance, please call 386-986-2391. Today is September 1st, 2020. It is 6 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Holland?
Here.
Vice Mayor Clufus?
Present.
Councilmember Branquino?
Here. I'm sorry. Took a little long to unmute.
Councilmember Cuff?
Present.
And Councilmember Netz?
Here.
Mayor, all members are present.
Thank you. We'll now open up to public participation. Any member of the public wish to call in at 386-223-1690. Hit star 9 to be unmuted, and you have your 3 minutes. Will begin after you state your name for the record.
I see no one indicating there.
Okay, thank you, Doug. We'll now move to agenda item number 1, which is the approval of the minutes of the City Council business meeting on August 18th, 2020, and a special budget workshop on August 25th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus?
Yes.
Councilmember Branquino?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff?
Yes.
Councilmember Netz?
Yes.
Mayor Holland?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll now move to agenda item 2, which is a resolution approving procurement of the city's insurance program, including property, general liability, auto, and workers' compensation coverage and related services.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, City Council. Good evening. This item was heard by the City Council at August 11th at the workshop, and by the request of Council, legal and staff went back to provide a further in-depth analysis of both the FMIT and the PGIT coverages. As you recall, FMIT is the Florida League of Cities, and PGIT is an insurance provider administered through Brown & Brown, who does some of our other city financial work. At the end of the day, the City Council does in fact have final approval regarding the selection for general liability coverage, but it is my recommendation at this point that after further review, that there are several material differences in the proposal, and we were clear when we made this proposal about similar and like coverage with no material differences. It's my recommendation at this time that we remain with the Florida League of Cities and the FMIT program. One of the large material differences that we're discussing, and Bill Reichman's here if you have further questions, is our E&O coverage, and that's our error and omissions. It really is at the heart of what the city operations do, and all the decision-making that is done by me as a city official, by our department heads, our managers, directors, our city boards and commissions, and of course you as a city council. It provides coverage for different acts within the scope of our official duties, and more importantly, covers for violations of civil or constitutional rights and those causes of action. So E&O has potential to literally have extraordinarily large, or the term we've used is unlimited claims potential. So it's a significant material difference. And again, protects us from those things that are not covered by our limited sovereign immunity under Florida state law. There were also some material differences that we looked in our employment practices and liability coverage, where again, we believe that FMIT through the Florida League of Cities had a more attractive unlimited coverage claims for the cities, and it's an occurrence policy versus a claims made policy, which has, again, a significant difference, we believe, to the city. And there were some other little things along the way sewer backups, windstorms, unprecedented events like COVID, and things are handled. If you'd like a further legal analysis beyond the memo or my brief presentation, Bill is here to dive into that tonight.
Council, any questions or comments for either City Manager Matt Morton or our City Attorney Bill Reichman? Okay, seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 2, please do so at this time by calling in at 386-223-1690. Please state your name for the record. Hit *9 to unmute. Okay. Are they unmuted, Doug?
Yes, ma'am.
Please state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin. Yes? Was that the carrier, Doug? Do you know if that was the phone number?
No, I think it was somebody on the Zoom meeting.
Okay. Hello? No? Okay. Someone that's on. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll close public comment. We'll take it back to this council and entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
For a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus,
Yes.
Councilmember Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff,
Yes.
Councilmember Netz,
Yes.
Mayor Holland.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Agenda item number 3 is a resolution approving piggybacking the St. Petersburg contract with Westco Turf Incorporated for the purchasing of Toro mowers parts.
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor, City Council. This is a piggyback for Toro mower parts specifically. While we do maintain a stock, it maintains a stock of consumables on hand to service our city mowers. Some parts are ordered on an as-needed basis. We recommend, and it has been recommended to us, to use these Toro original factory parts because it ensures our equipment is maintained to original engineering specifications, also eliminates the risk associated with warranty repair requirements. So again, to purchase through Wesco these original Toro parts. And Matt Mansell is on this evening if council has any further questions.
Council, any questions for either City Manager Matt Morton or our Public Works Director Matt Mansell? I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 3, please do so at this time. Okay. Thank you, Doug. We'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second it.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus,
Aye. Yes.
Councilmember Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff,
Yes.
Councilmember Netz,
Yes.
Mayor Holland.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is a resolution certifying the 2020 primary election results. Virginia Smith will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, this is a resolution certifying the 2020 primary election results. Virginia Smith will be presenting.
Thank you. Agenda item number 5 is a resolution certifying the 2020 primary election results. Virginia Smith will be presenting.
This is in accordance with our charter that the election results from our primary election be certified by city council. All of the races are headed to the general with the top 2 candidates in the race for each seat.
Council, any questions or comments on agenda item number 4? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 4, please do so at this time. Okay, thank you, Doug. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Move the resolution as submitted.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus,
Yes.
Councilmember Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff,
Yes.
Councilmember Netz,
Yes.
Mayor Holland.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0.
Agenda item number 5 is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement with Flagler County, the City of Flagler Beach, and the City of Bunnell for cold weather shelter services for the homeless.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, City Council. The proposal is to use community development block grant funds, so, and have to seek approval for those every year, so we'll be dependent, the continuation of this on that approval and continued will to use those funds in this manner. What this would propose to do is on nights in the county where the temperature drops below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the county is going to shelter homeless individuals at the Church on the Rock in Bunnell. This agreement purports to split the costs between the 4 municipalities, including ourselves, Flagler Beach, Bunnell, and the county, to a maximum of $24,000 a year, meaning that our maximum contribution, if every shelter night was used, would be $6,000. This agreement does, the way it is written, propose to continue on because it discusses an annual April 1st renewal. Again, that would be contingent on that approval every year of using the CDBG funds for that purpose.
Council, are there any questions or comments on this particular agenda item? None? Okay. We'll take it to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 5, please do so by calling in at 386-223-1690. Close public comment, take it back to this council.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus,
Yes.
Councilmember Branquinho,
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff,
Yes.
Councilmember Netz,
Yes.
Mayor Holland.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. We'll move to agenda item number 6, which is a resolution approving hybrid virtual meeting process.
Thank you again. I did provide an update at our August meeting regarding the need to begin to bring back PLDRB and some other boards. We did discuss that we bring back a hybrid meeting document that's in compliance with state laws, CDC recommendations, and the authority available to us now under our own resolutions and under the state of emergency under the state of Florida. We'll ask Virginia Smith to introduce the item this evening.
We have several boards and committees that need to start meeting again. Planning board needs to start bringing forth their quasi-judicial items. And so in compliance with all of the state law and the CDC guidelines, we are recommending a hybrid procedure as council had suggested they would like to see. We will be noticing the meetings in accordance with this resolution, and it will also be in accordance with council's policies and procedures. 5 days in advance, the agenda gets posted. So it will give everybody the opportunity to submit their evidence in quasi-judicial matters in accordance with the notices that are posted.
Okay. Thank you. Council, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
I have a question for the attorney.
Yes.
On page 3 of 7, applicants who elect to have their items considered by a hybrid meeting waive some of the significant rights that they have.
Yes, sir.
If you're an optimist, this hybrid situation will last for a brief period of time and then will go away. If you're a pessimist, I'm very uncomfortable with asking people to waive their rights. If we continue with hybrid meetings ad infinitum, what options do these folks have?
Well, this clearly involves compromises, and their options are as stated in this resolution, that if they do not want to execute this waiver and the waiver recognizes the limitations, the realistic, real-world limitations that how we can conduct these semi-virtual quasi-judicial hearings, that if they do not wish to waive those rights that they would otherwise have, but for the world that we live in right now, they are agreeing that they will have their hearing when we don't have to do it in a semi-virtual state. But we do have the legal power, as far as we can tell. I will say, Councilmember Netz, that there is no appellate court case that I can point to that has specifically ruled that some procedure like we are considering this evening does or does not meet the legal requirements for due process for quasi-judicial hearings. Having said that, the law that is established that allows local governments to act like this in emergencies, which we are under, this certainly seems to be within the limits of those constitutional powers that the city has. This process is not something that just was made up by the city of Palm Coast. A lot of other jurisdictions are doing this as well. We have checked with a lot of other jurisdictions. This is what we felt was the best compromise. Try to get the process started, but at the same time, recognize that we are going to have limitations on how many people we can have in actual physical presence and accommodate the balance should there be additional folks that want to or that either can't come or don't want to come, and they can participate virtually. To your point, because there's a logical inability to do some things virtually that you could otherwise do live, we're going to have to ask the applicants to waive in advance those rights in order to bring matters forward. Right now, we're allowed to do these things virtually until October 1st. And I would imagine sometime in late September, we'll find out if the governor's going to give us the right to do it beyond September 30th, Councilmember Netz. And to your point, no one up here knows how long, whether it's going to be extended for 30 days or 6 months.
If you have this hybrid where some individuals can attend, and if they give testimony, what would prevent the applicant from cross-examining somebody who is present?
I would think that we could do it in that circumstance, but what we've got to do is we could have a night where no one shows up live, and you've got 10 people that show up virtually, or you have people that submit texts or emails and give evidence that would otherwise be subject to cross-examination in a normal process. So we have to make sure that we have something in the waiver that will protect the city of Palm Coast against appeals for alleging that the applicant's rights for due process in these quasi-judicial matters were violated. That's why we are recommending that in order to protect the city during this process, to accommodate this process, given these compromises, that if an applicant wants to move forward, they're going to agree in advance that they're going to waive some of the rights that they would normally otherwise have.
Is there some way that that waiver of rights could be rescinded if in fact there was a person present who could be cross-examined?
Absolutely. I would imagine that evening during the meeting, the chair of the PLDRB or of this council could recognize that we have a situation like we have normally, and there's no reason why you couldn't allow cross-examination. We're just trying to protect ourselves in case we just can't do it.
And these are unprecedented circumstances. If I were a developer on a project, postponing it indefinitely
Correct.
is a disaster. So this is an accommodation. I just trying to put in there that little accommodation. If there were someone present, they could be cross-examined.
Well, while they may be waiving it up front, that does not mean that when we get to the hearing, and if there's someone in the same room that presents testimony, then their request could be made to the chair. I can't think of, if that came up, and I was asked as the city attorney, what do? I would say that given that these are circumstances before us right now that are similar to what we normally go through, you should allow for cross-examination.
Now, devil's advocate, if that were to happen, does that then weaken the waiver for people who are not in attendance? This is all very strange, though.
And it's not, I cannot predict how a court would potentially look at this factual scenario you just gave. It's just too much speculation. I would suggest, Councilmember Netz, that the more that the chairperson and the PLDRB or the council, the more rights for due process that were provided at that hearing, giving the limitations that are being set forth in the restrictions, the more you accommodate those rights for the normal process, the better off you are, the safer you are.
Right. I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Councilman Cuff?
Councilmember Cuff.
Yes, I guess to follow up what Councilmember Netz was saying, does it make any sense, Bill, to, instead of requiring a blanket waiver of the right to cross-examine, to basically say that they're waiving their right to cross-examine any witness who appears somehow other than in person? I mean, I've seen cross-examination done on Zoom. So if somebody is participating through Zoom, I don't know why they wouldn't be subject to cross-examination. It seems to me it's primarily people that basically mail in statements they want us to consider. You can't cross-examine an email or a letter or something like that. And it's difficult to cross-examine somebody who's on a telephone line when you can't see them and so on and so forth. But it does seem to me that,
Absolutely, Councilmember
yeah.
Cuff, we could add that language. This is just more black and white. This
Yeah.
was a suggestion, really. We're just trying to come up with a process that would be arguably a compromise that would be easier to accommodate and to administer. When you have, as to your point, Councilmember Cuff, if you're trying to cross-examine someone that's on a TV screen, it may be a little more complicated. But if that's something that this council would like, then I would ask you to, if you otherwise wish to move this resolution, you could approve this resolution subject to an expansion of the rights to cross-examination under Section 3B, subsection 2.
And that decision would be at the chair of the meeting.
Well, no, I would say that what I'm hearing from Councilmember Cuff is that he would prefer that the waiver not include the right to cross-examination a witness, whether they are there or virtual.
My concern is you put that language in, and I understand where Councilman Cuff is coming from. You put that language in, and the technology fails. It goes blank. The wire, the screen goes, I think there has to be some discretion on the part of the chair. If you can do that cross-examination virtually, fine. If there's a problem with the technology, the whole reason, in my understanding, for this approach is so that we don't defer indefinitely the rights of people to do development and so on and
Correct.
so forth.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, let's not overly complicate it. As long as the option to cross-examine exists, let them do it. They waive in advance. They don't know in advance whether the technology is going to fail. So they're saying that in such an event, I waive my rights. I'm comfortable with this as is.
It's the desire and discretion of the council on what they wish to do with regard to this portion of this resolution.
We do have in section 6, we do allow for disruptions and adjournment for any CMT meeting that should there be a defect, the chair has the right to adjourn temporarily or ask for a continuance of an item.
What page is that?
That's gonna be page 71 in the book, and then page 6 of the resolution.
It's right above severability, council member, under disruptions and adjournment. The clerk is right.
Okay.
I mean, we can, and I don't mean to be flippant, if you would like us to expand the scope, or let me rephrase that, limit the scope of the waiver with regard to cross-examination, we can do that. No legal reason we can't do that. I would just ask for direction.
Councilmember Cuff?
For now, I think I'd be comfortable leaving it the way it is, Bill, and just ask for a waiver. If we get pushback from applicants on that, I mean, I'm with Councilmember Nets. I feel uncomfortable asking anybody to waive constitutional rights in order to have us listen to them, or make a decision. But if you start trying to qualify it, or maybe if you want to qualify it at all, just add something to say that the waiver can be amended to allow cross-examination under circumstances where that's, feasible. I mean, if the person's there and they stand at the podium and talk, they should be subject to cross-examination. If they're on Zoom, and I have a question about how that's going to work, and they can see and be seen. I've done cross-examination on Zoom. It's not fun, but up until last Monday, that's how every court hearing in Flagler County, and I think pretty much in the state of Florida, has been conducted since this all started. So it certainly is possible to do it.
It's not an easy one. I mean,
Yeah.
let's on this issue of cross-examination, because we're talking about quasi-judicial. We've
Yeah.
got, 7 members of a PLDRB that are trying to figure out how to make a decision, and then it's made harder because some of them are virtual, some of them are there, they're hearing testimony, and now there could be 2 different TV screens doing examination, cross-examination. I'm not trying to talk you all into not doing that. I'm just saying this process was thought of
Yeah.
to try to create the compromise between a procedure that will be workable, given the realities of how we do this as a board. And
Yeah.
these aren't lawyers up there. And so I'm just trying to give you some real world type of justifications for this, Councilmember Cuff. I
understand that, and I'm inclined to leave it as is, and let's see how it works. It makes me a bit uncomfortable, but and I did have a couple of questions. I don't know who's in charge of the camera, but one question I have is what happens when 75 people show up at City Hall and we have to pick which 50 get in, or who picks which 50 get in, and who gets sent home to watch the meeting on Zoom or call in?
Well, my understanding is that
Yeah.
what the way this would be kind of like when you go to a restaurant, first come, first serve. And,
Yeah.
and it'll be so stated in
Well,
the notice. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
One of the keys of this working, so that we don't have, misunderstandings and aggravation, is to prepare the notice to be
Yeah.
explicit as possible, so that folks know that they have options to provide their input on the decisions.
Or they could just literally stand outside and we can call them in if they want to speak, or there's a secondary overflow room with a television in it. I mean,
Yes.
I think we're weirdly overcomplicating this. I mean, it's done all the time. You set it up, you have a TV overflow room, if there's more than 50, you separate them, you ask them in if they want to speak. They're still able to watch the meeting and communicate.
Mayor, that's just what we did, exactly. In Orange City, my other city client, their main council chambers, when you do social distancing, hold about 20 people. We had a controversial issue was about masks, and we had about 100 people. So we had a big room across the street with TV set up, and we had about 50 or 60 people spread out in that big room as well. So to your point, I mean, there's different ways to skin the cat.
We have that contemplated. We have overflow and those things to make sure we facilitate the maximum number of citizens in meetings.
As well as the community center may be a viable option for us as
That
well
was
to
my
conduct the
suggestion.
meetings. So we have both of those written in this resolution.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Cuff, does that answer all of your questions?
Yeah, I mean, we can't, we're never going to design the perfect procedure. The other question I had was, this resolution appears, if I'm reading it correctly, to provide for essentially a podium where people that want to appear on Zoom can go to do that. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I think we need to be cognizant of what technology we have and use it to its best advantage. Just a very simple example, when we were interviewing the 3 candidates to fill the District 2 seat, since I'm appearing by whatever I'm appearing by, I found it very disconcerting to be watching somebody addressing the council from the side. You know, the only view that those of us that were Zooming in wasn't a podium camera that focused on the speaker so that we could see who was speaking and get some idea of their, facial expressions and things like that. So I assume that we're going to do whatever we can to make this as useful and as much like an in-person meeting as we can, given the limits of the technology. Is there a remote location we're considering to have another speaker's podium set up, or is that something we put in another room in City Hall, or how is that envisioned working?
Want to answer that one, Doug?
My understanding, and I think maybe Jason may want to chime in here, is we talked about, as far as an overflow room, having a separate room where participants are watching the meeting during Zoom, and those who want to comment will be brought into the main room one by one to make their comments, and then go back to that overflow room. As far as the different camera angles and stuff, we're still working on the technological aspects of it to make sure that it's the best presentation possible, and take those into consideration.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, Councilmember Cuff or Vice Mayor Clufus or Councilmember Inquino, we can all appear here in the meeting. We don't have to be on the Zoom. The fact of the matter is, we're looking at 50 person capacity based on the executive orders of the governor, in which phase we're in currently. And then you accommodate. If there's more than 50 people in the room, you allow you provide for technology for them to watch what's going on, and when it's their time to go under public speaking, you bring them in.
Well, we can sit here and ponder this till the cows come home, with the understanding that if somebody is present and giving testimony, that person could be cross-examined in person. And that would probably be at the discretion of the chair. With that understanding, I'll move approval of this resolution.
Second.
Thank you. I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public want to publicly speak on agenda item number 6, please do so at this time.
I see one.
My name's David Serdar. Can you hear me?
What is it?
Yes.
His name is David Surrock.
Yes, go ahead.
David Serdar, but I want to speak at public comment. Are we at public comment?
No, sir, we're not.
No, I want to wait till public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Let's have a roll call, please, Virginia.
Vice Mayor Clufus?
Yes.
Councilmember Branquinho?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuff?
Yes.
Councilmember Nitz?
Yes.
Mayor Holland?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. We'll now move to agenda item number 7, which is appoint 3 members and 1 alternate to the Planning Board and Land Development Regulation Board.
Mayor, Council, if this sounds familiar, it's because you did this once before. And I'm the bad guy because when I found out that the selections that this council made the last time, unfortunately, did not include a selection from any individual that resided in District 4, I was the bad guy and said, well, I'm sorry, but we're going to need to do this again because your code is very clear. I'm probably some, if not all of you have been on the PLDRB, and you know that our code says that whenever possible, which means when there is an applicant from any particular district, then the code says there shall be a representative from at least one from each district. And in the past, I will tell you, there have been times where we have not had any applicants from a particular district. And it's been impossible to comply with that code requirement. However, in this particular case, we do have several applicants. So I was the person that is making you go through this process again so that we can comply with code, not have to worry about a defect in the membership of our PLDRB. And so with that, I would ask you to work with your city clerk to go through this painful process again. And I want the city to know, and the people who are watching, that we have expressed our apologies to the folks that have already applied and that were selected, that we all have to go through this again. But please understand, this is for the protection of the process and for any future decisions of the PLDRB.
Virginia, are you going to hand out forms for those present?
I'm changing it up a little bit. I'm doing it verbal since we have 3 and 2. And we're going to go through each seat specifically on a roll call vote for you to inform me of what your choice is going to be. So the first round is going to be for District 4, and we're only including those applicants from District 4 for you to vote from. The second round is going to be for
Or just with District 4, let's just take the vote.
Okay, we have Banks, Davis, and Shanks. Vice Mayor Clufus, your choice.
Sandra Shanks.
Councilmember Branquino,
Sandra Shanks.
Councilmember Cuff,
Donna Banks,
Councilmember Netz,
Shanks.
Mayor Holland.
Thanks.
We now have District 4.
Hooray.
So let's go to the next district.
Next district is Mr. Smith's seat. District 2 is where he resides. And you can choose between Albano, Banks, Davis, Hilton, Nicholson, Smith.
One person?
I'm sorry. I thought, is this District 2 only, or?
Nope, this is any one of those applicants, but this is Mr. Clint Smith's seat. He did want to be reappointed as well. Mr. Davis takes a 4/5 vote to be appointed to that seat. You can appoint any
okay.
number of any of them except for Ms. Shanks, who's been appointed to the board.
Okay.
So repeat those again, and then is there going to be an alternate for the rest of the group?
There's going to be an alternate vote at the end to replace Mr. Olsner.
Is there another district we're appointing?
Not mandatory. We have representation in each district. We have a representation from 1, 2, 3, and now 4.
So in other words, Mayor, we're just voting to replace one seat, and you can choose, this would be on page 74 of your agenda packet, you could choose any of the names under applicants, Mr. Albano, Ms. Banks, Mr. Davis, Mr. Hilton, Ms. Nicholson, or Mr. Smith.
They all live in District 2.
Doesn't matter.
Well,
It
For
doesn't
this
matter what
selection, you
district
pick
they live in.
whoever you
said
want.
there's a representative from District 3?
There is a representative from District 3,
Who's that?
Robert DeMaria. I updated the agenda today, but I didn't give you that sheet. I apologize. Mr. DeMaria is District 3, so we have a representative from every district.
Fine.
So you can choose any applicant that are applicants for any position. for the remaining seats that you need to appoint.
But we're only appointing one more position.
Right now, yes.
And it doesn't matter.
What's going to happen after we do that?
Then I'm gonna go to the next seat, which is Mr. Dolney's seat, and then we're gonna go to an alternate from there.
Who's in Mr. Dolney's seat?
Where does the applicant for Mr. Dolney's seat have to live?
Yes, thank you.
You have representation now from every district, so you
Yeah.
can choose any of the
Okay.
applicants, it does not matter.
Okay, I've got it, yeah.
But we've
You don't
got-
have to replace District 2 with District 3.
You do
Correct.
not.
Thank
No,
you.
we're good.
Okay. Let her rip.
Vice Mayor Clufus, we have James Albano, Donna Banks, Glenn Davis, Hung Hilton, Suzanne Nicholson, Clint Smith.
Clint Smith.
Councilmember Branquino.
James Albano.
Councilmember Cuff.
Clint Smith.
Councilmember Netz.
Clint Smith.
Mayor Holland.
Clint Smith.
4-0 for Clint Smith.
4-1.
4-1.
4-1, sorry.
What's the next vote?
The next vote is going to be for Mr. Dolney's seat. And we would eliminate Smith and Shanks. Albano, Banks, Davis, Hilton, Nicholson. Vice Mayor Clufus,
Wait,
James Albano.
why does that, repeat that?
Albano.
So Hilton's gone?
one moment, please.
Hilton's gone?
Okay.
No, Hilton's still in the race. It's Albano, Banks, Davis, Hilton, Nicholson.
And Nicholson is currently the alternate.
Correct. Vice Mayor Clufus,
James Albano.
Councilmember Branquino,
James Albano.
Councilmember Cuff,
James Albano.
Councilmember Netz,
Nicholson.
Mayor Holland.
Albano.
4-1 for Albano.
Any other votes?
Now we have an alternate position replacing Mr. Olsner. We have Donna Banks, Glenn Davis, Hung Hilton, and Suzanne Nicholson's already on our board, so we can eliminate her as the alternate because she's already an alternate. So your choice is Banks, Davis, or Hilton. Vice Mayor Clufus,
Hung Hilton.
Councilmember Branquino,
Yes, also Hang Hilton.
Councilmember Cuff,
Hung Hilton.
Councilmember Netz,
Hung Hilton.
Mayor Holland.
Hilton.
5-0 for Hung Hilton as the alternate. That's it.
Thank you, council.
Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Moved and
Seconded.
seconded. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Clufus,
Yes.
Oh,
Councilmember Branquino. Councilmember, can you hear me, Councilmember Branquino?
Councilmember
Hello?
Branquino, vote yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Councilmember Cuff,
Yes.
Mayor Net,
Yes.
Councilmember Netz, and Mayor Holland.
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
Okay.
Thank
Public
you.
participation. Any member of the public wish to make public comment under 386-223-1690. Now it's this gentleman. Please state your name for the record.
Paul Dawson.
Okay, your 3 minutes will begin, sir. Yes?
Yes, I attempted to speak on item F2, but was not heard, and I would submit that it's nearly impossible for the public to provide context and accurate information on these agenda items. I realize that the vote is done, but I would still like an opportunity to provide the information relative to the city manager's comments, which were inaccurate. I am the representative from Public Risk Insurance Advisors, and we submitted a bid and were scored the highest by the committee. And I realize that the vote is done, but we would certainly like an opportunity to be heard.
Okay, well, now is your moment, so I suggest you use it.
Well, I would certainly like the opportunity to respond to the city manager's suggestion that our coverage on the E&O was deficient. I would submit that we are significantly better both in limits and coverage. I think I heard him say that we were on a claims made form, which is not correct. We're on an occurrence form. And there are a number of other areas within that coverage where we are actually better. And certainly the committee recognized those advantages, not only in premium, wind coverage, E&O coverage, sewer backup. I could go on for a lot longer, but I see I've only got 1:30. And I do realize that this has been voted on already and realize it cannot be voted on again, but would like an opportunity to discuss some kind of recourse so that we can be evaluated fairly.
Does that conclude your comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. I will respond following all public comment. Next public speaker.
I think we have one more.
Good, Doug?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please state your name for the record?
They muted themselves again, so.
Oh, they did? Okay. Any other public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We'll close public comment. Mr. Morton, if you can comment on the speaker.
Probably should leave this with, at this moment, since it sounds like we have a fairness issue. What I read before was FMIT is $3 million per occurrence with unlimited coverage for all claims. FMIT is an occurrence policy, and coverage is provided for injury that occurs while the policy is in effect. Policy then covers those incidents forever. No need to worry, in essence, about termination, non-renewal, or buying what's called extended reporting coverage. PGIT has the same dollar amount, however, the total annual coverage is limited in our review to $3 million for all claims. Furthermore, when I said claims made, which is on page 100 of their proposal, it's triggered only when a claim is filed during the policy periods. In other words, in the event a claim occurs during the policy period, but the claim is made after the policy is terminated, which does actually happen in the city, no coverage will be provided because the claim is not filed during that policy year. So it that type of policy poses significant risk challenges and risks, we believe, to us for future gap coverage in that instance. I'm addressing the one instance as the speaker mentioned.
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I would direct the mayor, the council, to the memorandum that was presented to you, stated August 26th. It's in the materials. This was prepared by Mr. Garganese, my partner. This was done at the request of the council to try to make an apples to apples analysis and take a look over the shoulder of the staff who we don't have any objections to the conclusions that they reached. We were just pointing out some additional information, things that we thought that were important because as the original RFP said, is that the responses, the proposal need to be materially the same as what the city has been receiving from the league. And there were two items that we felt that were very important because they can be, as Matt indicated, they can be, and you hopefully never happens, but that's why you get insurance, is a worst case scenario, the coverage that is described by our review for specifically public officials, E&O liability, as well as employment practices, and those are the types of claims that can be large. And so while it appears that, oh, well, you've got a $3 million policy, that's either $3 million per claim, but with FMIT, there's no limit. You can have, heaven forbid, but you could have multiple claims that are that would not risk reaching the limit of the policy, whereas PGIT, it's $3 million per claim, but it's $3 million total too. So that's a difference, and that was just pointed out. And you also have an issue of as whether it's an occurrence policy or a claims made policy, and that arguably is just as, if not more important, for purposes of risk, for evaluating risk, because if you have a claims made, that means that you're only covered if the event occurs and the claim is made during the period that you have insurance. And if for whatever reason the bad thing happens and then the claim's not made during the period of insurance, you don't have coverage. That's the difference between an occurrence policy versus a claims made. So you have to pay extra if you want to have coverage outside of the term that you have the insurance. And that is, so again, we were trying to say, yes, there may be a monetary difference between the two proposals, but there is a real difference in what you're getting for that money as well.
Thank you. Okay. No one's commenting. Okay. We'll now move to discussion by City Council of matters not on the agenda. Councilmember Nets.
Nothing.
Vice Mayor Clufus.
I have nothing, Ms. Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Cuff.
Nothing for this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Branquinho.
Nothing today, nothing today.
And I have nothing as well. Discussion by City Attorney of matters not on the agenda.
Mayor, we're on a roll. I got nothing.
Let's keep it going. Discussion by City
City
Manager.
Can I roadblock the roll really quick? I just want to get two things out. I'm sorry. And I have to win a bet with Bill about how long the meeting would last. So I got to keep it going for another hour. So,
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Combo
just
breaker.
a reminder, because there's a lot of questions. I'm going to keep repeating it for a while. City Hall is open on October 5th. The first in-person meeting for council with the hybrid meeting will be October 6th. We will continue to message, contact, make that abundantly clear, but I just, again, want to take every opportunity they can to remind folks of that. And our staggered start we had with the school district was that, again, was that rationale. If you tuned into Town Hall, if not, it is on the web, and we talk a lot about it. The other piece of information just want to share with council is I'm going to be beginning very shortly the search, a national search for assistant city manager. It's time to fill that piece of the succession plan. It had been planned all along and was considered, obviously, as you know, in this year's budget process because it is important to the council, to the community, to our staff. And so I'll be reaching out to procurement very shortly. We will be looking for a proposal for assistance, and again, conducting a national search to find the right fit, the right person. That can be that ASM here at the city of Palm Coast. And that's all I had.
And tomorrow is our virtual town hall. I do believe we have the superintendent of schools who is going to be talking about the topic of the reopening of the schools and how that's going, as well as our wastewater treatment testing evaluation. So please tune in at noon on our virtual town hall. Please make sure you're continuing to submit your questions, and you can also watch it on YouTube following it. Okay? My motion.
Motion to adjourn.